All right, here we are. Should be live. Let's go ahead and wait for scoring here and check it out really fast. Sure looks like we're live. Let me make sure that everything's coming through here. And we are. We're all good to go. First and foremost, let's get everything out of our system now. First off, guns out. Now, I'm not Pinnell, all right, but guns out. People were like, dicks out for Harambe, guns out for the gorilla Austin Hill. Like, I missed a historic one yesterday. I rarely do date nights and stuff on Saturday nights, usually during the week. I just missed a historic one across the board yesterday. Crazy. Like, holy fuck. That's incredible. Um, Austin Hill rules, man. Austin Hill rules. And Connor, you did your job. Played you to win. That's all I care about. Let's move on and look at the Cup Series practice data here. If you guys want to drop any opinions, or whatever, on yesterday's shenanigans, go right ahead. I knew stuff had happened when I entered dinner, and I was like, oh well. Now, I guess I'm just going to keep burning money this week because I played quite a lot of Riley Herbst, and I come back and I'm like, oh, what the heck? We won money. I knew something insane must have happened. As we look at now, actually, before we look at the practice data, when we look at Watkins, oh, I already X'd out of all these things. When we look at Watkins, Glen, I mean, this has been a tale of two stories, and obviously, at this rate, we're bound for just a stinker of nothing happening right after just complete anarchy in both the trucks and Xfinity yesterday. When we look at the Cup Series race, we have, as I said, a tale of two stories because last year we had tons of yellows in the second half of the race. And then the year before, we literally went green in the end, right? So take your poison on whatever you anticipate happening. I don't really think that's fairly important today, mainly because when we look at the projections and we look at where ownership is going and stuff, we're kind of at a crossroads to where most situations are going to have people project the same, whether it's a green flag race or a wreck fest. And what I mean by that is, obviously, since Connor isn't in the race, right? We lose we lose an expensive place differential play that we most likely would have gone to. But we also gain place differential plays that I think most people are going to play, and that's Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. Now, the main question is going to be, can you play him with SVG, which I've uploaded my stuff. I haven't ran everything. I'm going to run over here just to see. I'm pretty sure I can just go through it and kind of build really fast. Leaves you $6,000 on average for your remaining players. Now, due to the fact that Watkins Glen specifically, when we look at where people are at in terms of the practice laps, we don't need the 18,000 decimal here. We see where everybody's at from a speed perspective. We see where everybody's at road courses, okay? The fact that Watkins Glen is so fast, okay? We typically see a skill gap in terms of how fast people are just because there's so little places to actually gain speed on somebody if you're slow or if you're trying to catch up. Obviously, turn one, entering the bus stop, and turns the turn after the carousel, right? And you could argue the last corner, but at that point, you're just carrying momentum from the second to last corner and stuff. And so, if you're fast, you usually pull away from all the slow lackeys, right? Because of that, when we look at the starting grid here, man, we'll go on this one. When we look at the starting grid here, we have a lot of people in the 8 and 7K range that are starting up front that have shown the ability to stay up front and race. Specifically when we look at people like Chase Briscoe, who has improved drastically at the road courses since he left SHR to Joe Gibbs, and then we're seeing how he's running at the road courses and at JGR and stuff. At 85, we have Chastain at 83. Obviously, Kyle Busch has had decent speed this weekend as well at $7,700. We have Hocevar, Bowman at 78 and stuff. So there's a real chance, even just based on my stuff, that a lot of people in the top 10 have the ability, even if they lose some positions, if they maintain roughly where they're at, right, we're going to have quite a lot of these guys being very close to value. Okay, when we're looking at road courses, we're trying to aim for people, scoring like 44 points and whatnot. So when we're looking at these guys here, hitting near value at 77, at 84, high sevens, low eights and stuff, we're right at the cusp of that 40.42 cutoff. And so I think there's a real chance that a lot of people in this range are going to be scoring value. We move back slightly to then Bell and Byron, who are probably your favorites to get a top five like your favorites to get a top five today are SVG, Bell, and Byron. I don't know if the books have that. That's just what I'm talking. That's how I would envision. Those three individuals would probably be your most likely guys to finish in the top five. Okay. We then continue slightly back more with Busher, Cindric, Gibbs, right at 9,072 and 87, very similar to the guys in the top 10 of where you're most likely going to be uh, hitting near value, scoring near 41, 42, 44 points and stuff like that. I think yet again, I mean, Watkins, Glen, how everything's gone this week, whatever, I would expect these people to stay up front regardless of if it goes green or if it's a wreck fest, right? So we have a potential for a lot of people up here scoring near value or scoring decently well. We have a pretty big drop off from Keselowski back. In my eyes, it's very hard to see a lot of these people outside of Elliott, Reddick, Larson, and people like that to really perform well. I'm not saying you can't, but I think we're finding a much harder road for these guys to hit value. So what is that doing in my eyes? I think that's hurting the value range. Okay, whereas like usually we at least have more guys alive to potentially be a pivot or not a pivot to potentially be a value player, whatever. The fact that we're having to pay up for obviously SVG and then most likely some very expensive place differential, as I said, whether you're going Reddick, Larson, whoever, right? You're going to be in the 5 and 6K range quite a lot today. Okay. So in terms of the value back here, oddly enough, I think Cole Custer is probably one of the better value plays of the slate. When we look at where he's typically finishing at road courses, we're usually seeing that around 23, 22, even just as an average running position. I'm perfectly fine using people like Custer today. I mean, same thing with Haley, but he's starting 23rd. I mean, this is going to be a really, really tough slate, the value range. I would probably not go all the way down to the 4K range and certainly not Balicki and stuff, but I think you naturally have to take the cheapest 5K guys that could actually do something today, and that seems to be Zane Smith, Ty Dillon, and Cole Custer. Ty Dillon probably being the worst ones. Typically, he's finishing around 27th and stuff. But I think we're just taking similar to yesterday. You're taking whatever value play is going to give you whoever you want. As stated, I mean, granted, everybody fucking died yesterday, and then Ellis literally there's so much death yesterday. Not not even exaggerating, right? But yesterday, the plays down there were Brennan Poole, Blaine Perkins, and Ellis. Perkins gets saved due to everybody crashing out. Ellis was running decently fine the whole day in a very chalky build. Most builds had Ellis had the more expensive guys you paid up for, which that lineup was fighting to which it did cash anyway at the end of the day. And then obviously Poole scoring 50 points because that's just why you play Poole. Starting in the back of the field, I think these three individual drivers are in the same boat at 53, 55, and 56. Personally, for me, if I'm in that range, I'll be using one of these three guys today. But really, like past that, I think there's a realistic chance. Let's go through the two avenues of building, right? Let's assume we're playing SVG, right? Like I'm gonna play SVG today. I'll figure everything else after. Do you want to play Larson or Chase Elliott on my stuff? Which yet again you can go ahead and hey, it's on the screen. Whoa. Which I guess go back and pause it, right? If you want access to my projections, SaberSim stuff, Sheets of stuff. Well, SaberSim's kind of questionable for yeah, but I mean NFL's right around the corner, right? MLB's still here, and basketball is going to be back soon. Okay, I would implore you to consider joining TrueDFS. Not only you get access to our projections, which yet again, I mean, have you seen that Sheets just win? Sheets has won hundreds of thousands of dollars this year alone. Bobby won a Millionaire Maker alone. You can get all their stuff on here. You also get all of SaberSim stuff here, which is arguably the best tool on the market, especially with the improvements that they made in their portfolio manager. I fully uh, just endorse SaberSim. I've been using it for years. I'm using the highest package for years. And then you also get Paydirect's analytics for MLB, NHL, NFL, and NBA when they come back around too. So basically 3 sites in one for these prices. If you're considering getting ready for the, most people renew their season long memberships around NFL season. I would highly encourage you to consider us for your purchase. But anyway, if you want to see my projections, you can go ahead and join us there. But you're going to notice that I think based on pricing and based on how tight it is, if we're paying up for Larson, if we're playing up for Elliott, if we're paying up for people like that, I think it's 5 positions. It's 5 positions farther back from Reddick and 7 back from, or 6 back, whatever. I don't know numbers. I like playing Elliott, and I'd like getting to Reddick over Larson today. Okay, now there is a chance that Larson is going to be scoring near 50, like near mid 50 points. I have him for 52.15. I think now I do believe this place differential is typically different than we see at the normal road courses, because usually it's guys who mess up a corner or or like flat spot a tire or whatever, right? But it's Larson, Elliott, Reddick, especially Elliott and Larson, right? Like two guys who are going to be top 10 contenders. I mean, you look at road course across the board, average rating position, average finish position, everything across the board. I mean, Elliott, Larson, literally guys in the top echelon. Reddick, top 10 in most of those categories and stuff. I mean, these are people that you typically see finishing in the top 5 and 7 starting in the back of the field. You also then have William Byron and Bell starting 9th and 10th, yet again, favorites to finish top 5 and stuff. You also have Buescher here as well. Like, we have a lot of really good road course racers who should be competing for top 10s, top 5s today that are starting well outside the top 15. And the fact that, we lose the guy in the 9K range at Connor Zilic, we're most likely going to be playing SVG. I mean, who is he really competing against? I would argue that it's probably Briscoe and Chastain, but SVG should sweep the floor with these individuals. Okay, so what is the potential that like SVG is scoring today, right? If you think SVG is scoring anything less, in my opinion, if you think he's scoring anything less than 72, 74 points, I mean, that's not really out of the realm of possibility. He's starting second. So he gains the 3 points you get for being first. Most likely, I mean, race is 90 laps. Even if you get him 38 to 40 points with, I mean, being very, very short on fast laps. I mean, I got him for round 29 and stuff. Yet again, we're right around like 74 points, right? You're going to need that. If you think he's going to score anything less than 74, I would encourage you to probably not play SVG and just pay up for all the place differential. And hope that the mid 50s that you get from Larson, from Chase, from Byron, from people like that are going to be able to outscore SVG from a line of construction if he's doing like 64 points, or if he wrecks out, right? That's I think like those are the main directions to go. I think we're having to pay up, and I think that's really why I like Custer today at 53. I mean, when we're looking back, I think things are going to be really tight on salary. If you really want to get bazongas, I mean, you can go to Cody Ware at 49. I mean, the guy was running mid pack at Chicago, but he's been abysmal at the other road courses, and he's really, really slow. And then we also, combine now yet again. Elliott ran long, and he's got some slower lap traffic here. I mean, these laps are 3 seconds slower than where it should be at. Also, thank you, AD, for the data here. But you look at where Chase Elliott is in terms of where his actual speed is. You look at where a lot of these fast guys are at, right? But then, you look at, I mean, these guys are running 73 flats, right? Then you have people like Keselowski, his fastest laps are 74 flats. Dylan, high 73s, even Hamlin, mid 73s, right? Like, I don't really want to play Keselowski today. I don't really want to be playing Eric Jones. I don't really want to be playing Nemechek. We're asking for a lot from somebody like Suarez. I mean, we are flat, near flat 73s. So that's much closer than Elliott. But, yet again, when you look at where the field is at, Byron is in the 72s. Larson's in the 72s. Why am I not mentioning Gillen? More of an anomaly. Why would Gillen have this amount of speed? If he has this amount of speed, then I mean he should just like smash the slate. I'm a bit hesitant on that because then again he qualifies 27th. He should finish around like 21st, 22nd. I usually discount really fast laps from guys who just shouldn't be running that fast, especially with the fall off that he had. But we look at where this field is and stuff. I think we're going to see the field spread out. If these guys can specifically survive the stage 2 restart, I don't really see a reason why we would have a lot of yellows. Because there's enough change in speed here to separate people and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I think we're all playing a very similar game today, and it's going to really be dependent on what Larson does, and it's really going to be dependent on what your construction does. As stated when we first talked about this slate, it was SVG, Larson, and Elliott. If we bring it down, $1,000, actually more so like 1,400 going from Larson to Reddick. Or if you remember this last time, 3 remaining guys we had at 6,000. Now we have 64 for your drivers. I mean, I think those types of builds are more welcoming and stuff. As stated, if you're playing a 5K guy, you're going to be anywhere from 68 to 7,000 in a lot of your lineups for your remaining 2 guys. I mean, that's why the drivers starting up front and specifically, the top half of the field looks so appealing. I mean, even people like Suarez and AJ and stuff, just due to the limits of line construction that we're at. I'd be very hesitant to play a lot of people from 22nd on back. Like Hamlin, I'm not super crazy about Hamlin today. I don't think we necessarily need to be playing somebody like that. Now he did finish 4th at Watkins, Glen and stuff, but I think he's probably going to finish mid-teens today. Let's see what else. I think that's mainly it. If you guys have any questions or whatever, we'll look at those things specifically. But I think the slate's kind of being decided for us due to where people qualified and where their projections are at. Yeah, Big Country Austin Hill, Rez, put on a show. I mean, holy dog shit. Oh, also, okay, so yeah, yet again, I wasn't here. Has anybody found the audio of Creed from when he crashed? Because apparently, I've heard from reputable sources that were listening live to Sheldon Creed's radio. When he gets spun by Retzloff, he's actively like yelling about Retzloff, like he fucking wrecked me or whatever. And then he just starts screaming as he's facing the field. I have not been able to find it, and I've been told about it. I've been told that he's screaming his lungs out in terror. I haven't found it. If anybody has that, please tweet at me, or if you see anything about it, please send it my way. I would love to hear that. It's like those websites where you can listen to the fucking black box in the airplane. How could you not listen to that stuff? Who knows? Everybody in here, I mean, we got a lot of 5%ers in here. I know other strains are not really gonna condone what Austin Hill did, and they're probably gonna send thoughts and prayers to Connor Zillich, but I know for a fact that's not gonna do anything to help Connor. So why waste time doing that? Real racers, real wrecks for real. SVG should, yeah, he's minus 200. I mean, he should dog walk the field here. Books aren't respecting Bell. He's behind. Yeah, if I was gonna bet yet again, I mean I'll take a look at DraftKings Sportsbook really fast. Yeah, again, disclaimer: I'm from good old Texas, so we can't do anything here. Um, I'll just take a gander really fast. Obviously, prop betting, especially at least in motorsports, is like losing. And most of these are losing things anyway. On top of that, blah 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 blah. I'm just talking here, just because I don't bet right. Let's go ahead and look here. Yeah, I mean, like, Bell makes a lot of sense today, from a betting perspective and stuff. I don't really know if he works now. I mean, I mentioned him in the video. I think he finishes top 5 today. Certainly going to compete for a top 3. I got him for 49.75 points today. Right near value. You're either choosing to play him or not, whatever. But probably from the most probably EV you could actually get here is probably putting money on Bell today if you are looking to do something there. Let's see what else we got going on here. Yeah, everything should just be a dud today since the last 2 days were just Daytona light. Um, Talking about Gibbs today. Also, Rez, I've not recognized you much, so I'm assuming you've been a lurker, or do you change your name? Because I just don't recognize your name or your logo much, but I do respect your opinions and your enthusiasm here. I do appreciate that. Yeah, Ty Gibbs at 87. Um, I think he's very, very much in play today. As I said, I really, as stated, if we have a shit show in Cup, okay, typically that is caused at road courses. Now it could happen with guys with the leaders taking each other out, but it's usually similar to like plate racing and stuff. You know, the leaders do dumb shit, they block, and then like the third row, second car in line, spins, and technically that's like eighth and ninth and stuff. Usually, if we start wrecking an insane amount of nonsense, it's either going to be the leaders or the mid pack guys. Okay, people like Gibbs, Busher, Byron Bell should be on the top half of the running order, or they should be up in the front, right? So I view that, just speaking out loud, that limits their variance there, because they shouldn't be in the danger zone, right? That's why, I would like Gibbs today, or not. I like Gibbs today. I like Busher today. I like Bowman today. Bowman specifically is a really, really good plate racer, and he's $7,800. I I like a lot of the people up here because you're typically only playing like 2 or 3 of them in most lineups, not like you're playing the whole, top 15, right? So, your chance that they're caught up in a lot of wrecks should be pretty diminished since you're only playing like 2 of these guys up here, right? In most lineups, if we're paying for SVG and all the expensive place differential, right? Um, so, like, I got a green light pretty much to the entirety of the top 15 or top 14, right? Hocevar could run an eighth if he wants to. He'll probably blow a corner and wreck somebody, right? So maybe not Hocevar, but everybody else up here has the green light from me. I don't know yet again with these guys in the back of the field, with like Reddick, Elliott, Larson with like 52 points as a floor. I don't know if you can play enough guys up here to normally at road courses, the two things are like, you play guys up front because it stays green and nobody can pass, or it becomes a shit show and you have to play guys who are going to come out through the field, right? Um, and that's usually with a shit show being needed. Yet again, we have so many good guys in the back of the field with 52-point floors. I don't know if you can play, like 4 guys in the top 14 today and get away with it like you've been able to do at some road course races and stuff. Um, but I like pretty much the entirety of these starting positions just due to how you have to build and stuff. Um, yeah, it does have snooze fest all over it, which is fine with me. Typically, if a lot of yet again, kind of going back to the rant yesterday, a lot of people don't like racing and stuff. Right now, snooze fests, boring races are literally the best for DFS. Like the most biggest snooze fests are like, I'll always give a like to those races because that's how racing should be, and we lose variance in terms of people being involved in wrecks. If they finish where they should, usually DFS is a pretty easy day. Um, I mean, if anybody races like that, Jake, they'll if anybody races like why. I mean, you could fade SVG. I don't really know. Like that thought isn't wrong, but that's very much equivalent if I, walk out on the street without looking. If I cross the interstate without looking, I'll probably get hit by a car. Like, I, I don't know if that's really adding anything. Of course, if SVG is in front of a faster car, he'll most likely be run over. But like, I don't even know what SVG did wrong yesterday. I saw the wreck. Right, he almost flipped over. Connor wrecked him. What the fuck? Like, what do you mean SVG? Like, SVG races hard, but he doesn't dump people. Like. Yeah, I mean, he should just run away with the race with how drastically faster he is compared to the field, and just the skill gap he has. Um, but yeah, man, past that, I wanna I do want to get a look here. Give me a moment here. I do want to look at one thing really fast as a group here. Let's get oops, wrong one. Let me import this really fast. Jesus Christ, I have so many. Look at all like how people were like, why don't you do anything? I literally just have just DraftKings entries throughout the fucking wazoo for like months on end, right? Um let me let me import this really fast. I'm importing Sheets' ownership really quick. We're gonna have to sort it by salary. But I think for anybody watching this will be a much better indication. Typically Sheets' stuff is far more useful. I mean that was the wrong one. Whoops. It's usually far more useful than oops than any other ownership here. So I want to get a look. I don't have hell. He has Connor in here. 1, 2. So that is. Let's get rid of Connor here because he still has Connor in the pool. I took mine out. So let's see what projected ownership where people are coming in at, and this should be a much more realistic one here. I do it right. Who's 3-8? JJ Gailey. Okay, whatever. That's fine. I don't give a shit. It's close enough, right? What do I do here? He got 92. Yeah, this would be Connor. Who am I missing? Oh, I didn't move it up. That's why. Whoops. That's why I have 382s here. First of all, I'm looking at it here. SVG, Larson, Byron, Reddick, holy Toledo, Batman. Literally what we expected, right? It should be pretty flat across the board because, yet again, if most people are building with these guys, right, which you should, there's just no reason not to. Everything should be pretty spread out, especially. I mean, it's not even a bell curve. It's you have a high ownership up here, then the line graph goes down, right? Like if all the ownership is up here, of course it's going to go down and flatten out. Yet again, let me see. I want to see what he has. Where's it 4? Custer's at 14. Who's the other idiot I was thinking of? Yeah, I want to look at Smith and where's Smith at? Yeah, I mean Smith, Custer, Gregson. I guess Ty Dillon would be slightly lower. I mean, it seems like nobody's playing Ty Dillon, nobody's playing Cody Ware. This is kind of justifying everything that I was kind of already mentioning here. I would highly encourage, since we're probably gonna have really chalky lineups. Also, do you like the shaved armpit? You got to pay extra for that on most sites. Since we got to, five guys are going to carry the most amount of ownership today. Most lines are going to carry at least three of those dudes. I think from a build perspective, from a reason to get different, okay, you can either aim for this race to go green, and obviously the people who should do well will do well. And if things get different, the range that would be impacted the most if things were to get wild or crazy or whatever is probably the lower owned drivers, right? Yet again, nobody has them. If anything's going to happen, it's most likely not going to include these drivers, because once the race goes green, these guys should be up in the top half of the field and competing for the win or whatever. So they should be safe from chaos if it strikes late in the race. So then it would then be impacting, a lot of the middle ownership, right? It's not going to be impacting that the people involved in crashes most likely aren't going to be people like Nemechek, people like Ty Dillon, because they're running, so bad last, right? They shouldn't be involved in the crashes. So what I mean by that is if you're playing a really chalky lineup, if it goes green, you're probably not going to win. You're probably not going to have the optimal, but I would encourage you to use a race like this to play, somebody like Ty Dillon who shouldn't carry a lot of ownership. Somebody like, which 64 for Jones is going to be hard. Jones has been absolutely horrendous on road courses. Like his finishes are like actually atrocious. Let's just bring up that really fast here. We can look what is it? For recent reference, we'll eventually load this. When we look at where Eric Jones is at, these finishes have been terrible, right? Obviously, 19th, whatever. Anybody, in a sample size of 10, you're gonna have a top 20 somewhere. But like Jones has been like terrible, right? He's not gonna be owned today. If you want to get different, if you want to have unique lineups and stuff. Yet again, that's where you need to understand what you're doing in terms of a lineup to, yet again, if we're looking at a contest, you have 100% of the field, top 20% is being paid out, from the top 20 to like top 7%, whatever any guy, most projections are going to get you in that range. From 7 to like 3%, you got to make changes and stuff, to get unique and stuff. But really, from that like top 2% to first place, like you got to be different. Skill can get you, obviously to cash and into like the top 10 percentage. But you're gonna need, some stuff to go in your favor. You're gonna need some luck. You're gonna need some stuff to get different here. Today seems like one of those days to where you probably want to play pretty chalky to to have your best chance of cashing, and then just have just a one-off of like whatever the fuck play to get different. It's usually how I play, but I think today it's probably worth doing with how tight in salary everybody's going to be. I know that the ownership is pretty flat here, but that's not what important. With these guys here, your average salary here is $10,000 between your top 5 expected guys on a slate. If you include AJ into that, we're looking at 97. Very, very, very expensive guys up top with no real favorite in terms of value. Maybe Justin Haley, but really past that, like the value plays, we don't have a chalk value play today. We just have chalk pay ups and stuff, and then we're working with whatever we have left, right? So those are my thoughts. What else we got here? And see, Jake, I don't mean to, right? But like I if I go through and look at and just jump into every live show, like during the day or whatever. They're recommended. We have the Run Pure show. We have Pinnell show. We have everything. You're in every show asking questions to like obvious answers. That's the only reason. Like if SVG races like he did yesterday, he will be wrecked just like yesterday. Like I know you're not. I know you're subscribed to the channel. I know you're not a TrueDFS user. Like I know you're not subscribed to us. Um, so like I don't really have that like, hey, he's a subscriber. Let me not like trash him or whatever. Like I don't think you really add anything of value to like any lineup you're in or any live show you're in. That's why I kind of always dig on you. I'm like, why do you ask these like basic questions, man? Like if you, I know you've been playing DFS a long time. A lot of these things shouldn't be asked. What does Penske do today? I'm not playing Blaney. Logano. Um, where's Logano at? I mean, I got Logano for like 12 today. I'd actually rather play Cindric if you're going to play somebody. Um, but and that's mainly because he's $7,200. If we're building so tight, we're going to be in that low 7K range, and I don't really want to play Keselowski between the low sevens. It's between Suarez and Cindric. I think most people will probably go to Suarez if they're having to do a 1v1 between a $7,200 play and a 71. They should default to Suarez. But I think Cindric's like the only guy worth playing from Penske. For single entry, I think in single entry you probably want to prioritize Larson. I think in large field, I think he's probably the guy you want to try and get different on. But for single entry, especially, there's really no single entry that has a contest field I'd be concerned about. Like the 12 isn't that. Well, let me look really fast because the higher up in entry fees, you typically get smaller. So let me look really fast. Yeah, the biggest single entry day is the biggest 12, which is 1,400. So I would probably just play SVG on Larson and hope that they can get you there. Not hope, but since you're dealing with a smaller field, just take like the for sure like guys who can get you 55 points by the bare minimum. I think Hocevar is a little too dangerous to get different. That's where I'm at. Well, John, don't crash on Pinnell. Pinnell's like, I mean, look at this point. I've been around the block. I frankly don't give a shit what people think of me from like inside the industry. Um, Run Pure guys know what they're talking about, right? I literally can't talk shit to the Run Pure guys because they make bank not only for their site, their players, right? Um, Pinnell has never, ever, ever said a negative word to me the entire time I've been on YouTube. And when you're looking at the people who have been around and fast cars, fast money guys as well, they've never talked any shit to me at all. Um, like do that. Like I have full respect for Pinnell, and I will not. I mean, you're not slandering Pinnell, but I will never ever say a negative thing about Pinnell. He's always been extremely polite to me, whether it be on YouTube or tweets or whatever. So I like Pinnell from a personal perspective. Outside of that, I don't really have anything else to add here. I think I'm probably going to call it there. So best of luck. Early start today. 2 hours 50 minutes to lock. So I will see you guys later. Let's. I think. Look, gut shot. I think this is a boring race. I don't know if they're going to tear a lot of stuff up, so that's probably good for DFS. So best of luck, guys. See you later. Bye bye.